The Vakari came from the dark space between stars. They were hunters. They were killers. For 10,000 years, they moved from world to world, taking everything they wanted. 12 species had fallen to them. 12 civilizations had become slaves or food or both. When their ships appeared above Earth, humanity had 3 days of warning. 3 days to prepare for an enemy they could not understand. Commander Tarak stood on a bridge of his nest ship. The massive vessel was home to 50,000 Vakari warriors. It was also a breeding ground where their young hatched from eggs and learned to fight before they could walk. Tarak had led this nest for 40 years. He had never lost a battle. Below him, the human city of Bizn burned. The ground forces report success, his second officer said. Her name was Rova, and she had served under Tarak for 15 years. Human military resistance is stronger than expected, but we are winning. Tarak watched the smoke rise from the city. How much stronger? They fight when they should run. They attack when they should hide. Our tactical models cannot predict their behavior. This did not worry Tarak. Strange behavior was common in prey species during their final days. Humans would learn to submit, or they would die. Those were the only options. Continue the assault, he ordered. 3 hours later, alarms screamed through the nest. A human strike team had breached the lower hull. This should have been impossible. The team was small, maybe 20 soldiers, and they were fighting their way through corridors filled with Vakari warriors. They were dying, but they kept coming. Tarak watched on the security screens as the humans fell one by one. They used their bodies as shields for each other. When one soldier was shot, another would drag them to cover, even when doing so meant certain death. It made no sense. It was wasteful. It was stupid. Yet somehow, 3 of them reached the residential level. When Vakari security finally killed the last human soldier, they found something unexpected. A woman in military armor, badly wounded, standing in front of a storage room. Behind her were 17 small humans, children. The word translated poorly into Vakari language. Their species did not have children the way humans did. Vakari young hatched from eggs, already able to walk, already able to fight. They needed no protection. They needed no care. These small humans were different. They were soft. They were crying. They could barely stand. What are these? The security officer asked through the communication link. Reva checked the human databases they had captured. Immature humans. They require years of development before reaching adult function. They were likely being transported to safety when the attack began. And the soldier? The woman had collapsed now. She was bleeding from multiple wounds. But even on the ground, she had positioned herself between the security team and the children. Her eyes were still open, still watching. She was protecting them, Reva said. The entire attack was a rescue mission for these young. Tarak did not understand. 20 soldiers died for 17 useless creatures? It appears so, Commander. Why? No one had an answer. The security team tried to move past the dying woman to collect the children. She grabbed the leg of the nearest Vakari and pulled herself up. She had no weapon. She had no strength. But she bit and scratched and fought until they threw her down again. The children screamed. Kill her, the security officer said. She is more trouble than she is worth. But before anyone could act, something strange happened. The children ran forward, not away from danger, toward it. They threw their small bodies over the woman, covering her, protecting her. They were crying and shaking with fear, but they did not move. What are they doing? Reva asked. The security officer had no answer. He had fought many species. He had seen many forms of resistance. He had never seen anything like this. The weak protecting the wounded, Tarek said slowly. Young creatures choosing death to save someone who cannot help them survive. This is not logical. No, Commander. It is not. Tarek made a decision. Bring them all to the observation cells. Do not kill them, sir. I have conquered 12 species, Tarek said. I have seen fear and submission and rage. I have never seen this. I want to understand it. The soldiers carried the woman and the children to the cells deep inside the nest. The woman woke during the transfer. She saw where they were going. She saw the cages, but she did not fight anymore. She gathered the children around her and spoke to them in soft sounds that the translation system could not fully process. The children stopped crying. They held her hands and walked with her into the cell. When the energy barrier activated, locking them inside, the woman looked directly at the observation camera. Directly at Tarek, that she did not look afraid. She did not look angry. She looked like she was making a promise. Tarek felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. For the first time in 40 years, he felt uncertain. These humans were weak. They were soft. They were dying. But something about the way they clung to each other, the way they protected each other without hope of winning, made Tarek think that perhaps he did not understand this war at all. Outside the nest, the city of Bizan continued to burn. The invasion continued. The Vakari were winning, but in a small cell deep inside the ship, 17 children curled around a wounded soldier named Yuna. She told them everything would be okay. She told them she would protect them. She did not know if it was true, but she said it anyway, and somehow that made all the difference. 3 months passed inside the nest. The invasion of Earth had not gone as planned. Humans fought in ways the Vakari could not predict. They destroyed their own bridges to stop advances. They hid in ruined buildings for weeks, surviving on nothing, just to attack one more time. They died in ways that seemed to serve no purpose at all. Tarek stopped sleeping. He spent his nights watching the humans in the cell. Yuna had survived her wounds. The Vakari had given the prisoners basic food and water, nothing more. It should not have been enough. But somehow, she had healed the children with a reason. Tarek watched them every day. He saw patterns he could not explain. When Yuna was too weak to eat, the children put food in her hands and closed her fingers around it. They would not eat until she ate. When she tried to give her portion to them, they refused. This is inefficient, Tarek said to Riva during one observation session. The adult is the only one capable of protecting them. Keeping her strong should be their priority. Instead, they share resources equally, even with the smallest and weakest members. Perhaps they do not think in terms of efficiency, Riva suggested. Then how do they think? Riva had no answer. A young soldier named Duri was assigned to bring food to the cell. He was young for a Vikari, only 12 years past hatching. The duty was considered shameful. Feeding prisoners was work for the lowest ranks. But Duri did not mind. He found himself staying longer than necessary, watching the humans through the energy barrier. The children had started to notice him at first. They hid behind Yuna when he approached. Their eyes were wide and frightened. But humans, Duri learned, did not stay frightened forever. After 2 weeks, a small boy began walking toward the barrier when Duri arrived. His name, Duri learned from monitoring their conversations, was Jinu. He was 5 years old. He had lost his parents in the first attack. Jinu did not look at Duri with fear. He looked at him with curiosity. One day, Jinu held something up to the barrier. It was a drawing made in the dust and dirt on the cell floor. The picture showed a large figure and a small figure standing together. "What is this?" Duri asked, though the translator in his ear would convert the words. Yuna spoke for the boy. "He drew you. He wants you to see." "Why?" "Because you come every day. Because you do not hurt us. He thinks maybe you are not so bad." Duri did not know what to say. In Vakari culture, prisoners did not make art. Prisoners did not give gifts to their captors. Prisoners waited to die or be useful. These humans did something else entirely. He reported the interaction to Commander Tarek. "They are adapting," Tarek said, "trying to build bonds with their captors. It is a survival strategy." "Perhaps," Dury agreed. But he was not sure. The way the boy had smiled when holding up the drawing did not look like strategy. It looked like Hope.Yuna used every moment to teach the children. Tarek watched her show them how to collect water from condensation on the walls, how to stretch their food to last longer, how to sleep close together for warmth. But she also taught them other things. She taught them songs. She taught them games. She drew pictures in the dust and told them stories about brave heroes and happy endings. She wastes energy on useless activities, Tarek observed. They are prisoners with no future. Why fill their heads with fantasy? Reva had started visiting the observation room more often. She could not explain why. Maybe the fantasy is the point. Explain. They are small. They are trapped. They have lost everything. By telling them stories about hope, she gives them a reason to keep living. That is not logical. Hope based on fantasy is false hope. Is it? Reva asked. They are still alive. They still smile sometimes. The adult could have given up. She did not. Perhaps false hope is better than no hope at all. Tarek did not like this answer. It made him uncomfortable. The children began to change. At first, they had cried constantly. They had clung to Yuna and refused to let go. They had screamed at night. Now, 3 months later, they played together. They laughed at Yuna's stories. They created games with pebbles and drew pictures on the floor. A girl named Somi had started teaching the younger children the songs Yuna taught her. They were building something. A tiny community inside a prison cell. How do they do this? Tarek asked one night, watching the children sleep in a pile around Yuna. They have nothing. They are nothing. Yet they create this. I do not know, Commander, Dury admitted. He was watching too, standing beside Tarek in the observation room. But I think about them. When I am not here, I think about them. About whether they are warm enough. Whether they have enough water. Tarek looked at his young soldier. You are becoming attached. Yes, Dury said. I am. It should have been a confession of weakness. Among the Vakari, attachment was failure. Soldiers did not care about prisoners. Soldiers did not think about the comfort of the enemy. But Tarek did not punish Dury, because the truth was, Tarek thought about them too. He thought about the way Genu smiled when he finished the drawing. The way the smallest girl, Hana, always made sure everyone else had food before she ate. The way Yuna sang soft songs in the darkness to help the children sleep. He thought about what kind of species could create such bonds in such conditions. And for the first time, Tarek began to wonder if conquering Earth was the right thing to do. He pushed the thought away. He was a commander. He had a duty, but the thought kept coming back. In the cell below, Yuna looked up at the observation camera. She could not see Tarek watching, but somehow it felt like she knew. She smiled, just a little. And Tarek felt his certainty crack just a little more. Reva told herself it was research. She told herself that understanding the humans would help win the war. That watching them was tactical. That her visits to the cell were duty, not desire. She lied to herself for 2 more weeks. Then Genu drew a picture of her. It was simple. A tall figure with the ridges on her head that marked her as Vakari. 2 arms, 2 legs. Standing alone. But in the picture, the figure was smiling. Vakari did not smile. Their faces did not work that way. But Genu had drawn her smiling anyway, because that was how he wanted to see her. What is this? Reva asked through the barrier. Yuna translated the boy's response. He says you look sad when you come here. He wanted to make you happy. I am not sad. I am Vakari. We do not feel sad. Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but real. Then why do you come here every night? Riva had no answer. The boy held up another drawing. This one showed two figures, one tall, one small. They were holding hands. He wants to know, Yuna said, if you will be his friend. I am his captor. I am his enemy. He knows. He wants to be friends anyway. Reva left the observation area. She walked to her quarters. She sat in the darkness for a long time. She had killed many creatures in her life. She had conquered worlds. She had never felt guilt about any of it. The strong dominated the weak. That was the natural order. That was the Vakari way. But the boy had drawn her smiling. The boy wanted to be her friend. The boy looked at his jailer and saw something worth loving. What kind of creature did that? The next night, Riva disabled the observation cameras for 6 minutes. In that time, she passed a container of clean water through the barrier. It was a crime. It was treason. She did it anyway. Jinu took the water with both hands. He said something to Yuna, who translated. He says, "Thank you." He says you are kind. I am not kind. I am. Reva did not finish the sentence. She did not know what she was anymore. She came back the next night. And the next. She brought extra food rations. She brought a cloth for the children to sleep on. She brought small things that would not be missed, but that made life in the cell a little easier. Jinu started waiting for her at the barrier every night. He would show her his drawings. He would tell her about his day through Yuna's translations. He would laugh at things she said, even though she was not trying to be funny. The other children began to accept her too. Somi would wave when Riva arrived. A small boy named Taiho would show her the games he invented. Even Hannah, the youngest and quietest, started looking up when Riva's shadow fell across the barrier. Why do you help us? Yuna asked one night. Riva considered the question. I do not know. The boy, Jinu, he makes me feel something. I have no word for it. I think the word is love. But Ari did not love. Maybe you just never had a reason to. Yuna looked at the children sleeping around her. Love is not something you choose. It happens to you. It sneaks up on you. One day, you would die for someone, and you cannot even remember when it started. Reva thought about this. She thought about the way her chest felt tight when Jinu smiled. The way she worried about them when she was not there. The way she had started to see them not as humans, not as prisoners, but as people. This is dangerous, she said finally. Yes, I could be killed for what I am doing. Yes, but I cannot stop. Yuna nodded slowly. That is how it works. 2 weeks later, Tarek called Riva to his office. Missing supplies, he said. Food rations. Water containers. Medical cloths. Someone has been taking them. Riva said nothing. The cameras in the prisoner area have been experiencing regular failures. 6 minutes every night, same time. Riva still said nothing. Tarek studied her face. He had known her for 15 years. He had trusted her with his life. Now he saw something in her eyes he did not recognize. Why? He asked. The small one made me feel something. I have no word for it. I do not understand it, but it is there, and I cannot make it go away. Tarek should have executed her. That was the law. That was the Vakari way. Instead, he went to the cell himself. Jinu was waiting at the barrier, as he always did for Riva. When he saw Tarek instead, he did not run. He did not hide. He held up his newest drawing. 2 figures. One very large, one very small, standing together. What is this? Tarek demanded. Yuna's voice was steady. He says it is his family now. He says Sub-Commander Reva is his aunt. He wants to know if you will be his uncle. Tarek stared at the small human boy. This creature had known nothing but violence and captivity from the Vakari. His parents were dead. His home was destroyed. His people were being conquered, and his response was to offer family. This makes no sense, Tarek said. It makes perfect sense, Yuna replied. Children do not choose hate. They have to be taught it. These children have decided to love instead. Even when it is hard. Even when it hurts. Even when the people they love are the ones who hurt them. Why? Because love is how humans survive. We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. But we love fiercely, and we protect what we love until our last breath. You cannot conquer that. You can only join it or destroy it. Tarek looked at the drawing in Jinu's hands. He looked at the other children watching him without fear. He looked at Yuna, who had every reason to hate him, and somehow did not. He felt something crack inside him. Something that had been hard, his whole life suddenly became soft. I do not understand your species, he said quietly. No, Yuna agreed. But maybe you are starting to. Tarek left without another word. He did not punish Reva. He did not report the missing supplies. That night, for the first time in 40 years, Commander Tarek dreamed. He dreamed of a small boy holding up a drawing, offering family to a monster. He woke with water on his face. He did not know what tears were, but he was learning. Hannah got sick on a Tuesday. She was the smallest of the children, 7 years old, quiet and gentle. She always made sure everyone else had food before she ate. She never complained, even when the cell was cold, even when the nights were long. When the fever started, no one noticed at first. Hannah hid it. She did not want to worry the others. By the second day, she could not hide it anymore. Yuna felt the heat coming off the small girl's body, and her heart went cold. She had seen fever like this before. Without medicine, without proper care, it could kill. Reva, she called toward the observation camera. Reva, please. I need help. Reva came within the hour. She looked at Hannah through the barrier, and her face did something Yuna had never seen on a Vakari before. It twisted with worry. I will get medical supplies, Reva said. Can you? Is it possible? I do not know, but I will try. Reva ran to the medical bay. She searched through every cabinet, every storage unit. But Vakari medicine was made for Vakari bodies. Nothing there would help a human child. She went to Tarek. The small one is dying, she said. The youngest girl. The fever will kill her without intervention. Tarek's face was stone. We have no human medicine. We have no human doctors. Then find some. Contact the surface. Make a trade. Do something. You are asking me to help the enemy. I am asking you to save a child. Tarek said nothing. Reva waited. The silence stretched between them like a living thing. I cannot, Tarek finally said. The council would have us both executed. There are rules. There are laws. Reva wanted to scream. She wanted to fight. But she knew he was right. The Vakari did not save enemy children. The Vakari did not show weakness. She went back to the cell. Hannah was worse. Her small body shook with chills even though her skin burned. The other children had gathered around her, pressing wet cloth to her forehead, holding her hands. They had stopped playing. They had stopped talking. They sat in silence, watching their friends slip away. Yuna stopped eating. Every bit of food, every drop of water, she gave to Hannah. The children tried to make her eat, but she refused. You will die too, Jinu said, tears running down his face. Then I will die, Yuna replied. But I will not watch her go alone. Duri brought extra water. He brought soft claws. He stood at the barrier for hours, watching, helpless. Why does this hurt? He asked Reva. They are not my people. They are not my family. Why does it feel like my chest is being torn apart? Reva did not answer. She did not know. All she knew was that she felt it too. On the fourth day, Hana's heart stopped. There was no warning. One moment she was breathing, her small chest rising and falling. The next moment, she was still. Yuna felt for a pulse. Found nothing. Pressed her hands to the girl's chest and pushed again and again, trying to bring her back. It did not work. The sound that came from that cell was not screaming. It was not crying. It was something deeper. A sound of grief so pure and terrible that it seemed to shake the walls. Every child wailed as one. They threw themselves over Hana's body, holding her, calling her name, begging her to come back. Yuna gathered them all in her arms and rocked them, her own tears falling like rain. Duri was crying. He did not understand what was happening to his face, why water was coming from his eyes, why his body was shaking. But he could not stop. Reva burst through the observation room door. Open the barrier, she ordered the guards. Sub-Commander, we cannot. Open IT now. She ran into the cell with a medical scanner, desperate to find any sign of life. She scanned Hana's body again and again, looking for something. Anything. There was nothing. I am sorry, Reva said. The words felt strange in her mouth. She had never said them before. I tried. I tried to find medicine. I tried to help. I am sorry. I am so sorry. The children looked at her. Their faces were red and wet with tears. They were broken, destroyed. And then they did something. Reva did not expect that they reached for her. Small hands grabbed her arms. Small bodies pressed against her chest. They held on to her, their enemy, their captor, seeking comfort in the middle of their grief. Why? Reva whispered. Why do you come to me? I could not save her. I failed you. Yuna looked up. Her eyes were empty with sorrow, but her voice was steady. You came. You tried. That is enough. That is everything. Torek watched from the observation room. He saw his soldiers weeping. He saw his second officer holding human children. He saw a grief so powerful it had broken through every barrier between species. And something inside him broke too. He walked to the cell. The guards did not stop him. They were crying too. He stood at the barrier, looking at the small body on the floor. Hana, 7 years old. Quiet and gentle, gone. I could have helped, he said. His voice cracked on the words. I had the power to try. And I did nothing. Yuna looked at him. She had no anger in her eyes. Only sorrow. You are here now. It is too late. Yes, but you are still here. That matters. Tarek did not understand. He had let a child die. He had put rules and laws above a life. He was a monster. But these humans, these broken, grieving humans, did not look at him like a monster. They looked at him like a person who had made a mistake. A person who could change. Jinnu walked to the barrier. His face was wet with tears. In his hands, he held a drawing. It showed Hana. She was smiling. Around her were all the children, and Yuna, and Reva, and Duri, and Tarek. Everyone together. For you, Jinnu said. So you remember her. Tarek took the drawing with shaking hands. He looked at the small girl's smiling face. I will remember, he said. I will remember forever. That night, Tarek made a decision. He did not know if it was right. He did not know if it would work. But he knew that he could not continue as he had been. The war had to end. Not because the Vakari were losing, but because some victories cost too much. He looked at Hana's drawing one more time. Then he began to write a message to the High Council. The war ended 6 months later. The official report said that Earth's resistance had made invasion too costly. The humans fought too hard. They died too willingly. Victory would take decades and cost millions of Vakari lives. But among the High Council, a different story spread. Commander Tarek had sent footage to every member. Footage of 17 children in a cell. Footage of a wounded woman singing songs in the darkness. Footage of Vakari soldiers learning to cry. Footage of a small girl named Hana and the grief that followed her death. He stood before the council and spoke words that no Vakari commander had ever spoken. "We cannot conquer these people," Tarek said. "Not because they are strong. Not because they have better weapons. We cannot conquer them because they are contagious." The council did not understand. "Explain," the High Counselor demanded. "They make us feel. They make us love. Every world we take, every population we absorb, we will be changed. We will become something other than Vakari. We will become more. You speak of this as defeat." Tarek thought about Jinu's drawings. He thought about Riva singing Vakari battle songs to help the children sleep. He thought about Dori teaching Selmi to play strategy games and letting her win just to see her smile. He thought about Hana and the hole she had left in all of them. "No," he said. "I speak of it as transformation. We came to destroy them. Instead, they are teaching us to live." The council voted. The war ended. Earth was left alone. But that was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. 10 years passed. The nest ship that had hovered above Bizant became something new. The breeding chambers where Vakari young had once hatched into violence were redesigned. Engineers from both species worked together to create spaces where children could grow safely. They called them nurseries. Human teachers came to work beside Vakari caretakers. They taught each other's young. They shared songs and stories and games. They built something that had never existed before in all the galaxy. Tarek was no longer commander. He was ambassador now. He wore no armor. He carried no weapons. He walked through the station with a peace he had never known as a warrior. Riva stayed too. She had become Jinu's family in truth, not just in drawings. She attended his school events. She helped him with his studies. She was there for every birthday, every celebration, every tear dot when other Vakari asked her why she stayed with the humans. She always gave the same answer. "They taught me what family means. How could I leave?" Duri became a teacher. He worked with the youngest children, both human and Vakari, showing them how to play together. He had a talent for making small ones laugh. He had a talent for making them feel safe. "I was supposed to be a soldier," he told Yuna once. "I was supposed to learn to kill. Instead, I learned to care. I think this is better." Yuna smiled. Her hair was gray now, and her body carried the scars of those terrible months in the cell. But her eyes were bright. Her spirit was unbroken. "It is better," she agreed. "It is so much better." The ceremony took place on a bright morning. Thousands gathered in the station's central hall. Humans and Vakari stood together, their children playing at their feet. Ambassador Tarek stood at the front. Beside him was Yuna, the woman who had changed everything by refusing to give up. And behind them stood 17 young adults, the children of the cell, the survivors who had shown an entire species how to love. Hannah's seat was empty. It was always empty. They never forgot her. Jinu stepped forward to address the crowd. He was a young man now, tall and strong, with kind eyes and steady hands. He spoke in both languages, human and Vakari, the words flowing easily. 10 years ago, he began, your ships came to destroy us. Your soldiers came to take our home. And my mother stood in front of 17 children and refused to move. He looked at Yuna, and she nodded for him to continue. She could not win. She knew she could not win. But she did not give up. And that small act of love started something none of us expected. He turned to Tarek. You asked her once why she protected us when there was no hope. I know the answer now. Tell me, Tarek said. His voice was soft. Winning was never the point. We were the point. As long as one of us survived, hope survived. And hope is like a seed. Even in the darkest ground, it grows. He gestured to the window behind him. Through the glass, the nurseries were visible. Vicari cubs and human toddlers tumbled over each other, playing together, learning together, loving each other without any memory of war. You came to destroy us, Genu said. But we did something harder. We loved you anyway. And look what grew. The crowd was silent. Humans and Vicari alike had tears on their faces. Even those who had fought in the war, even those who had lost family to the violence, felt something shift inside them. It was hope. It was the future. It was everything they had almost lost and somehow found instead. Tarek stepped forward. He looked at the nurseries through the window. He thought about the predator he had been and the person he had become. We built these ships to breed warriors, he said. We built them to create soldiers for endless conquest. We called them nests because they were places where destruction was born. He paused. His voice broke. Now they are places where children learn to share, where enemies become family, where species that tried to kill each other teach each other to sing. He turned to the crowd. The predator nests have become nurseries, and I could not be more proud. That night, there was a celebration. Music played. People danced. Children ran between legs and laughed at things only children understand. Una sat in a quiet corner, watching it all. Riva sat beside her. We did it, Riva said. We actually did it. The children did it, Una replied. We just kept them alive long enough to show you what was possible. Genu found them there, sitting together. He sat between them, the human who had given him life and the Vicari who had become his family. Mom, he said to Una. Aunt, he said to Riva. Thank you. For what? They asked together. For believing love was stronger than hate, even when it hurt, even when it seemed impossible. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species lived. Other worlds turned. Maybe someday, the humans and Vicari would meet them together. Maybe they would teach them too. Hope is a seed, Genu said softly. And we planted a garden. Outside, the children kept playing. Human and Vicari, side by side, not knowing or caring about the war that had almost destroyed them both. They only knew that they were together. They only knew that they were loved, and that was everything. That was the whole point. That was how everything changed. The predator nests had become nurseries, and the universe would never be the same.